Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of HU Flow. Here we like to highlight the current and enrich the future. Today, we got Kevin with us. Kevin is in IMED, that's interactive media. I'm Marilyn, that's Steven. Kevin, let's jump right into it. Tell us how is your IMED going? What does that look like for you?
So far, being an IMED student in advanced media production, I would say that it's gone smoother than I thought it would have. Freshman year was probably one of the most stressful years I've ever had to deal with when it comes to college. And not gonna lie, it was being away from home, dealing with all this new coursework, everything that was just new and jumped right on me was stressful, not gonna lie. But as the year went on from sophomore to junior, which I am now junior, it was a lot easier to take care of. Of course, there were like the challenges and things I did not want to do whatsoever, but it made me a way better student and a way better video editor than I am now.
Interactive media at HU University, otherwise known as IMED, is basically where students can learn all about digital development, creation, anywhere from graphic design to video production, and even marketing. For you, Kevin, why did you pick that degree? Did you have what's your passion there?
Honestly, when I first started deciding what I was going to do at school, I wanted to do art. I've always been an artist. So when I saw IMED, I was thinking, oh, this would be a good opportunity for me to go into the digital art field because that's what I thought it was. When Dr. Payton sat us down, all the freshmen, in one of the biggest freshman classes that she's had, along with Charles Palmer and Professor Kelly, they let us know this is not exactly what you think this was. So I was kind of distraught, not gonna lie. I was like, oh no, this is my life. Like, what am I gonna do? But I fell in love with the fact that places like the museum that's in DC, there's an interactive museum in DC. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but I recently went, and it's basically what I do in my major, but released to the public. I'm at interactive media. So I fell in love with being able to show people how to interact with their space, how to interact with their surrounding whatsoever. Even if it's something little like seeing a cup float, something like that. It was just, I don't know, it's amazing. So I wanted to be a part of a team that could also do the same thing for other people.
That's beautiful. Even going to a STEM school, HU, you still found that ability to practice art. Is there anything about HU that really stuck out to you as to why you chose their art program?
Um, the one thing that stuck out to me was it wasn't really the school, it was more so the area that was around the school. I met a lot of amazing people that have this drive that I've never met around in my own area. I live in Suitland, Maryland, so it's kind of a new transition of people that all had the same drive. It's kind of weird. At first, I thought, okay, maybe everyone's a robot, but that's not what it was. Everybody was just amazing, and they had their own focus, own dream. So I found my class of people. I never really felt that way towards the people that I grew up with because everyone had their own ideas, own methods, and I didn't feel like I fit. So coming to HU, the school was amazing, but the area around HU was even better.
Okay. Okay. I'll jump in then on this one. So you talk about like back home, you grew up around people that weren't really on that same type of drive. So I'm guessing a lot of people back home were on that whole robot-like mentality that you were talking about.
Yeah.
So like, take us through a little bit of that robot-like mentality. Like, what do you mean when you say that?
Well, a lot of in the area that I grew up in, a lot of people focused on quick money, I'll say, and their drive wasn't really art like. There was always, I want to get money. Doesn't matter what I do to get money. 9 to 5, 2 jobs, working at jobs like UPS and stuff like that. Like no one seemed happy. A lot of my friends end up doing the same thing, and I'm kind of like the oddball when I come out and go out and do things like go to school. Or I wanted to go to the military at first, but that was just a quick option. But a lot of people that I grew up with ended up just having this sad look in their face or this drained look in their work ethic and body. So it's not something I always seem worth putting my time and effort in whatsoever.
Right, right. So basically, you use that as kind of motivation to kind of go outside the pack, from what I'm understanding, and that's a good thing to have. I mean, a lot of the times, your environment can shape you and change you in a variety of ways, and kind of for a lot of people, when they start to get changed a lot, sometimes it starts in high school level too. When you're around your high school friends, you're sort of in this little group, and you're expecting to be in like a group mentality until you make that transition to college. So kind of go kind of head to times. How was the for our viewers who are currently in high school? Take us through your senior year when you kind of had to figure out, okay, is college the move? What is it like? What was happening for you your senior year in high school?
Senior year was a mess. Senior year was felt like I was probably the least productive senior in my school. Everything hit me late. Community service hours, college, fast food. What are you gonna do when you get out of school? It was everywhere. But
Mm,
and then eventually I had to take a gap year
okay.
because I waited too late and I couldn't go to school on the deadline. But it worked out for me because I ended up getting a really good job that ended up helping paying for a lot of the expenses of school, which was thank you. It was amazing, and I managed to meet the student body that it is now. So I'm grateful for that. But senior year, um, honestly, I wasn't the most productive kid. I'll be completely honest. I was barely getting by. My grades were decent, and if it wasn't for the fact that I wanted to go outside of the norm, I wouldn't have had any other type of motivation. But I'm glad that I did manage to escape that route and become a way better student because my grades are amazing compared to what my work ethic was a lot better, and I'm actually happy going to school, which is amazing.
That's great to hear. I mean, because and also you mentioned the gap year. I think that's really important because a lot of kids, when they're in their senior year, that gap year, because after, for those who are unaware what a gap year is, basically after you graduate, let's say high school, and you don't consider college an option or anything else an option, you take a year off. Some people view that as a negative because you're kind of wasting your life in some people's eyes. But in Kevin's way, he did a lot more than you probably realized. So specifically focusing on the gap year, I'm assuming you've heard that stigma about taking a gap year is a bad move, but
All the
because you should like go to college straight up from the get go. So when it came to hearing that type of negative feedback on it, how did you go about like overcoming it? I know a lot of people struggle with that type of thing.
honestly, it's there's always been the stigma about a lot of things that people do when it comes to school in their life. I've always heard dropping out of school to chase your dream has always been a bad thing, and I'm not condoning dropping out of school. It's
Hmm.
just I've a couple people that I knew who dropped out of school are doing really well for themselves without education. I would ask them constantly, like, just go back and finish high school, just get your GED, do your thing, and continue because you have the opportunity.
Right.
But the stigma of that gap year, I've always heard it from my coworkers, at least the coworkers that didn't really fancy me whatsoever. I always heard them saying, "You're you're heading down the wrong path. You're acting like a knucklehead." My dad would tell me you need to go to school as well. My uncles, you gotta go to school. So I mean, it was if anything, I took it as just a form of motivation because sometimes I really didn't pay attention to when people were being negative to me because I didn't know they were being negative. I just thought they were just telling me to do something good. When it comes down to that gap year, it doesn't have to be a bad thing. If you're just sitting in your house, sitting in your bed, not doing anything, playing games, then I can understand people getting on you about it. But if you're actually trying, I don't think you should beat yourself up about it.
Awesome. 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 One more before I pass on to Marilyn. So when it came down to kind of jumping in your senior year a little bit, well, no, actually not senior year. To kind of come down after that gap year, what kind of got you to HU? How did you go about finding HU? Was it something you saw in some email or something? Was it something you already knew about? Like, how did you find your place here?
Um, I remember I was in a relationship at the time, and ironically, my relationship, my partner was going to HU, but I thought HU was just a science school, just for science, because that's what she was into. So I didn't really like pay too much attention to it because I wanted to do art. So I went to the Art Institute of Washington to go through a tour, and I saw for HU on my Instagram, and I was like, why is this ad constantly popping up? Like I specifically don't want to go to the school, but I clicked the ad anyway, and I saw IMAD Interactive Media, and I just read articles and I read throughout the page. And I'm like, this school sounds amazing. So after my art institute didn't go so well because they were trying to tell me how much it would cost for me to pay them back. 26 years of debt doesn't sound fun. So I dropped them and I just went to HU. I applied, and I remember getting an email back from, I believe it was from Vincent Frank, or if not him, the admission coordinator, I believe, one of the two.
Okay.
And yeah, me and them had a nice conversation back and forth for a good week, and I told myself this is the school for me. I I just worked so hard, hours. I would take night shifts. I was doing everything I can to make sure I had enough money because I didn't think I was going to do my FAFSA. That's another story with me and my dad. Love him to death, but geez, FAFSA was a pain with him. But
Yeah. Understand.
ooh, yeah, me and that conversation was more than enough that I needed to have the motivation to actually want to go to HU.
Awesome. I'll pass it to Marilyn.
So you've talked about how you ended up here, touching on like Instagram ads, which first of all, their algorithm must be perfect because they got some students here. Um, so you're here now. What is your first of all, how long have you been here? Like what year are you in? And how has your student life, what does that look like? Are you involved in clubs? Was it easy finding a friend group, transitioning from high school to college? What did that all how did that go for you?
So I started HU in 2018, and now this is 2020. I'm in my junior year, and it's my first semester junior year. So after this semester will be my second, and then I'll become a senior. So the trip's almost at its end. Sadly, I'm going to miss HU for sure. I'm not going to lie. And when it comes to like the spine, I'll say because the student body makes up for HU completely. So the clubs, the groups and stuff always makes up for it. I have only attempted to be in one club, a forensic club, because I wanted to get into a club, but I was inactive because I could not handle the schoolwork and the club work. It was just at that time it was too much. So I feel like I let my club down because I didn't respond to them when I needed to. So if they see this, I'm sorry. And the group of friends, it was been kind of hard for me to make friends, completely go out my own way, but I end up making friends anyway, just being myself. And I realized that. So it hasn't always been hard to make friends. At least this semester and last semester, it wasn't that difficult to make friends. A lot of the people that walked in my life are still here, thankfully.
That's great. We you touched on earlier about what drove you to Harrisburg was the community outside it. Can you talk about that a little more? Like, what do you mean when you say that?
Well, the community outside of HU, there's just so many amazing people. Like people from like who just like art. There are some that just like tech, who like sports. There's just so many amazing people, especially at that bus station. Like that bus station around the corner is just full of just like great smiles. Even though there's some people who are kind of angry, I still talk to them too. And it's like I like them. I like everybody in HU. There was in DC, I'm used to going out my way to feeding the homeless people, so I attempted to do the same thing for the people in Harrisburg. And a lot of the people in Harrisburg are very, very nice for some reason because I'm not really used to that in DC. A lot of the homeless people that I did feed, I ended up getting a little angry and stuff like that. I still managed to give them food and make sure they were cool, but with Harrisburg, I don't know. It was just I always walked away smiling. It was just amazing, and I remember vividly freshman year, every day on a Friday, I would go out and sit by the water and I would just draw because that's the best way. That helped me de stress. And there were strangers who would just come and talk to me for like 15, 20 minutes about drawing, about people that they knew that draw, their history. And one individual, his name was Benjamin. He was a elderly guy, and we sat there and we talked for at least an hour. So we just talked about like so much different stuff. And I will say that if it wasn't for him, I don't think freshman year would have gone any better. So I'm glad I met the dude. Honestly, he's an amazing guy.
That's a very unique story. I feel like a lot of either freshmen or just people at HU in general um, don't have that mindset about moving to a new area. It can be a little more focused on the course load, but it is important to take those times and have those moments to de-stress. So my question for you is, have you found like your favorite spot around Harrisburg? Either if it's someplace to eat or someplace with a great view. Is it the river? I want to know.
Um, I don't want to give away my secret because people are gonna take it, but it's okay. It's usually when you cross the bridge to go to City Island. If you continue straight all the way down by the water, there's this case of steps. I'm pretty sure everybody knows this place though, but there's a spot where the steps are, and it's just I like to sit on the far left side where I'm close to the trees, but I'm still not too far away from the pavement and stuff like that. But
Yep.
the only reason why I sit on that spot because there's a family of ducks that like to sit over there on that little side in the water, and I just sometimes if I see them, I just give them bread and stuff like that. But that's usually my spot. But if it's in HU, I like to go to the top floor where the ceiling is exposed.
Yeah, those are great spots. I've been to that steps. I mean, it's really nice. I like going there at night when all the lights reflect off the water, especially with that one bridge.
Yeah,
It's cool, and I like finding little spots in the city because it is a city, even though it's small. But I like finding little spots where you don't feel like it's so much of a city. So with that, Steven, do you have any more questions?
Yeah, kind of. Let's. I wanted to hit on because you're a junior, and for myself, I'm a recent graduate. You know, soon you'll be in my position where it's like, okay, now adult life's coming soon, all that stuff. So, what is the end goal? You know, what are you looking forward towards in the future on doing? And if you don't know what you're doing, what steps are you taking to kind of figure that out?
completely honest, or to be completely honest, it's always been I feel as though that like the same college mindset. Okay, I'm going to once I graduate, I'm gonna find that job and move on my parents' place, and I'll be set for life. That I don't want to have that mindset because I feel like that mindset will get has flaws. I will say there's debt that I have to pay off. There is things that I have to focus on doing, learning how to save when it comes to moving out and stuff like that. I think that I need to focus on becoming an adult little by little instead of trying to take it head on. I know a lot of people who want to move out, get out of their parents' place, and have fun and do the things on their own, but that's just not my focus. I want to, after I graduate, I want to have a job. That's the one thing, of course, but I also want to focus on the debt that most college students do have. I want to get that out the way and then prioritize leaving home. I feel like that is probably the best thing to do. A lot of people want to get out soon. I think you should use the advantage that you have with staying home, not paying for anything, and just do subtle things like that. At least that's my current situation. So I want to be able to use it to the best advantage I can, and then focus on my next goals.
Okay. I mean, that is a good thing to have. 'Cause I think definitely agree with you. I think a lot of people are just under that premise of like, once I'm out, adult life now. I mean, be honest, you can slowly enter that, and having moments where you're like, you can have an option of being able to move back home to save you money. It's actually a good thing if you really want to consider that. And don't be afraid of being back home. I mean, I understand that's a whole different ball game because everyone's families back home is unique and different in their own way. But at least you have to acknowledge that as a possibility because you also mentioned debt. The average college student, for those at home, they graduate with about almost 30 grand in debt, and even more than that, depending on the university you go to. So it's very important to consider something like that. Kevin is talking real truth when he says stuff like that. And kind of to end it on the final note, so with Kevin, I know that you do a lot of different skills in video photography and stuff like that. Is that something you pursue more in the future, or is it other things you're looking at too?
I've always been, I've always told my parents and family that I've done web development. I like web development, and I do like web development, but I feel like that's probably a second thing I would do if anything.
Mhm.
Videography and video editing, it speaks to me a little bit because at first I didn't like it. I'll be completely honest. Professor Smith's class, I was not attentive in whatsoever. I don't know, I was bored, and it wasn't just something I thought I would like. But as we got into it, I realized that I hear things or I pick up on different sounds when it comes to editing that I feel like a lot of people miss, and I see certain things that I feel like a lot of people can miss. And I just like those skills. I feel like those are skills that I have. I feel like I feel I fit in this department really well, and I feel like I can do exceptionally well in this department. So video editing and videography is something that I do find a super close passion to me. Web development is nice, art is beautiful, but that's like just my top three.
Oh, man, hey man, it's you can have as many as you want. I mean, at the end of the day, as long as you're enjoying having fun with it and you can make a financial stability with it, I think that's the best of both worlds. That being said, Marilyn, do you have any other questions you want to ask our boy Kevin here?
Yes. One last thing, with what you're doing and what you've learned at HU, um, is there anything that you potentially want to promote about yourself? Are you like freelancing, that sort of thing?
Um, because I have not gotten into video editing for other people, only just a company. I would just say a company, and I I'm willing to do web development for a person. If you need a website or anything of that nature, I'm willing to do that as long as we can talk about it. Videos, I can edit them as long as we can talk about it. Art, as long as we can talk about it. Like I can do a lot for you as long as we talk about it. I don't really have any branding of myself because that's something I do not know how to do without a team. We can make a team. That'd be cool too.
Okay. I mean, hey man, that is good to hear.
That's what we're
Anything else,
here
Marilyn?
for.
True. True, very true. Anything else you want to ask, Marilyn?
No, that is everything. It's been great to have you on, Kevin. Great to talk with you and learn more about your experience at HU. Thank you for your time. I am Marilyn, and this is my co-host Steven. And this has been HU Flow. Thank you guys for watching.
Y'all.